We've got another exciting podcast for you tonight. We're going to review AEW Dynamite and Collision, talk about Impact's Bound for Glory, and even mention a guy who we haven't been mentioning in the past couple of weeks, and CM Punk. And Kevin the Oracle has a secret question that he's going to give us. That much and more, but Timekeeper, ring the bell.
Welcome to the And Still a Wrestling Podcast, your weekly podcast covering the latest in the world of professional wrestling.
It's professional wrestling. It's a podcast, and it's And Still a Wrestling Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Morgan the Casual, and joining me, as always, is my two good friends, Kevin the Oracle and TV's Frank, or as other people really lovingly call him, Drew the Authority. Thank you guys for getting in. I have missed you. It's been a long week, and one week that I wanted to start off by saying, you know what? The more that I watch AEW, and the more that I get on social media, the more that I actually want to walk away from social media when it comes to this weird infatuation with the arena and how packed it is or not. You know, Kevin, you tried to tell me this over text message a couple of weeks ago. You tried to warn me. You tried to give me the advice. But really, to be honest with you, why am I concerned with how many people are at a wrestling event or not? Do I enjoy the product or not? When I watch it on TV, do I enjoy Dynamite? Do I enjoy Collision? Actually, for the most part, I do. And whether or not the hard camera has, floor to ceiling people doesn't really matter to me. At the end of the day, I got to get off of social media and this weird infatuation that I think comes from just WWE trolls. You know, they can't worry about their own promotion. They have to worry about just running AEW in the mud. And really, in my opinion, now that I continue to keep looking at it, it's really just one of those things where I can't have expectations that AEW is going to fill a stadium like WWE anytime soon. It's just not, that's unrealistic. And it goes back to, do I enjoy the product or not? Are they providing an alternative to what the WWE provides? And that is yes and yes for me.
Yeah, some of the best matches in history have happened in front of 50 people. You don't necessarily need a crowd to produce an excellent product. You know, there have been federations in the past that have proven that. We've seen Ring of Honor do a couple of hundred people, yet have a very strong event. Back in the day, ECW, I would go to local arenas. One of them was Salisbury Beach, Massachusetts, held maybe 200 people, but man, everybody gave 110% in front of those 200 people. So it's not necessarily the attendance, it's the performance that's given to that attendance, whether it's 50 or 50,000. It doesn't really matter as long as the product is strong. And in your opinion, as you just said, you're enjoying the product. And that's really what it's all about at the end of the day.
We need more optimism in professional wrestling. That was a big problem with this past Saturday. Is between AEW Collision with also them adding the Battle of the Belts there at the end and Impact Wrestling doing Bound for Glory on pay-per-view and stuff like that. In both cases, both really, really, really good wrestling shows, quality matches, good entertainment. It's like good. And I just don't get the stigma of why do we not have more eyes on this when this is good, entertaining wrestling shows?
Part of the problem with Impact, and we'll get to that in just a little bit, is its limited ability to view on Access TV. Unless you're behind their paywall, watching their on-demand pay-per-views, or buying it from Fight or whatever have you, or you have the ability to watch the weekly program, which I think is Thursday nights from
Yeah,
8
on
to 9
Pop,
o'clock
is it? Or
on Access TV, AXS.
okay.
You know, supposedly they're putting on some of the best professional wrestling weekly, yet no one's watching it. Now, I did watch from Bound for Glory, and I know we're going to get to that in the program a little bit, but I'll give my feelings on what I saw. I did watch all but the last two matches, and we'll talk about their big news that came out of that pay per view. But I want to go back to Wednesday night. I want to call out the fact and pat myself. I want to do a little. Who's the guy that patted himself on the back from the WWE?
Barry Horowitz, dude.
Barry. I want to do a little Barry Horowitz. I said that Kyle Fletcher and Kenny Omega would go between 12 and 14 minutes. They went 13 minutes and 1 second, and that is why they call me the Oracle Boys.
Morgan, real quick, it's like when he says that, it's like, dude, we got to get Kevin that jacket. You've never seen Barry Horowitz's jacket. You need to get him in that jacket where it's actually got like the sequence and rhinestones of like the
handprint
on the back. Yep. It's the best.
Good times. Good times.
If somebody has made it somewhere, if not, someone on Etsy can definitely make it.
Oh yeah, we're making it happen.
Don't
hurt the public. Don't.
Well, when it comes to the card, AEW Dynamite, again, I think one of the biggest things that headlined it was Sting coming out and talking about his retirement. We'll get to that. Before we do, definitely want to start with Kyle Fletcher and Kenny Omega. Obviously, none of us on this show felt like it was going to be a bad match. We all felt like it was going to be a good match overall. And I'm still at odds on, really, I think more than anything for me, it's just the use of Kenny Omega right now. He's not getting any younger, fellas. We already see what's happening with Sting. I know he's many years older, but Kenny Omega's 40 years old, guys.
Sting is 25 years older than Kenny Omega. I mean, come on.
That is nuts.
And I'm just telling you that Kenny Omega, he's not getting any younger. And he's going to give matches like 125%, 150%, 200%.
Morgan, how long have you been watching Kenny Omega?
Honestly, really just his time in AEW.
So you don't even know when he was at his best. Because he's not at his best.
So you would say now he's not even at his best?
No, definitely not. He has lost a step. He still gives 100%. But yeah. If you haven't seen his Bullet Club time, his Kazuchika Okada matches, all three of them, then you have not seen the best of Kenny Omega.
Hell, have you seen him in New Japan? He put on a clinic with Cody.
Yeah, if you're only watching his AEW, you're missing out on his career. He has taken a step back since his injuries. Absolutely. The guy's 40 years old. It has to be expected. I do not believe he is the best professional wrestler currently working in the world anymore. He's top 3, maybe top 5, but he's not number 1. And if you didn't enjoy that, match,
in the top 5,
if you didn't enjoy that match, next time I see you, I'm going to slap the Clemson out of you.
No, I did enjoy the match.
Okay,
but I just want to see. I want to see him back up top. I want to see him with a belt, the AEW World Championship belt.
Why does the belt matter? It's just
I just feel like he's their number one guy. I want to see him with the belt. He's my favorite wrestler, so I want to see him.
Okay, that's it. He's your favorite wrestler. It's an emotional decision. There are better people.
And that's okay.
No, nothing wrong with it. I get it. But what I'm trying to make you understand, or trying to help you understand, is you're basing your opinion off of your emotions. There are better people, and I think Andrade could be better than Kenny right now. Kenny is not, he's lost a step. That's really what it comes down to. If you were to go back, and we're going to have some homework and we'll get to that. If you were to go back and you were to watch Bullet Club in the 2017, 16, 17, 18, where he was coming up as the head of Bullet Club when AJ and Nakamura left, and he was headlining that faction, the matches he had, the crispness, the speed. There are other people that are bringing that today, and he is not.
Okay, got to ask this question since we brought this up. It's like you're saying that Kenny, you said not in the top 5, or
he's top 5, but he's not top 3.
Cool. Let me ask these questions. Is Bryan Danielson ahead of him?
No. Danielson has also lost a step. That was proven in the match with Andrade. Andrade outshined him Saturday night.
What
You can
about Will
see these
Ospreay?
guys. You can see these guys losing a gear.
Will Ospreay.
We'll talk about Will Ospreay because I watched 2 matches this weekend with Will Ospreay.
Fair enough.
We'll talk about that.
And just for a thing, is CM Punk in the top 5?
Fuck no. What's wrong with you?
Nothing. Just wanted to throw that in there.
So, I know it was last week, so I don't want to spend too much time on it, but just going back from last week, we got Kyle Fletcher, Kenny Omega, we had Tony Storm's Timeless, new
Fantastic
picture that she did.
Did she get a pearl necklace?
You had Sting.
Oh God, yes. It's like you chuckled at it and you know it.
I had to explain that one to my wife.
Oh.
That was pretty good. I enjoyed that part of it. Sting announces that he's going to retire in March, I guess.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah,
I failed to care. I really don't care.
I do.
What has Sting done other than throw himself off of objects he shouldn't throw himself off as a 64-year-old man?
The man deserves a final match, and let's face it, he's going to give a better final match than Ric Flair did. The problem is, like what we talked about, is who do you get for an opponent?
He deserved a final match 12 years ago when he left the WWE, and that was against Tyler Black. What's his name?
Oh, Seth Rollins.
Yes, against Seth Rollins. And Seth Rollins injured him, right? The buckle bomb?
Yeah.
Okay. The man is a highlight reel. He's kind of like a Darby Allin these days. He just throws himself off of things. We get to see him. We get the cheap pop. It's a nostalgia act. It didn't surprise me to hear that he's retiring, but I also don't really care all that much. But what I am intrigued by is what they're going to do leading up to that final match. It was pretty clear we're going to get Lex in a wheelchair. We'll probably see Hogan at some point. They will bring out Ric Flair if the WWE will allow it. From what I saw, WWE may actually stop Ric Flair from appearing. But who's left? Ricky Steamboat, maybe? Vader's no longer with us.
Muda?
Yeah, you could do Muda. Muda's thing was pretty epic in the late 80s, early 90s. But Muda retired as well.
Trying to remember
Ultimately, I think we're going to do a Darby Sting, and they're going to sunset Sting.
No, I think Darby and him are going to team up for his final match against somebody. I don't think Sting flies solo.
I don't know.
Not a solo retirement match? What?
Well, Ric Flair did
Ric
it.
Flair's wasn't.
Yeah.
It's
well, Ric Flair's had 7.
And I believe this will be his last
like
time. And the man's 65 years old. So, yeah. Again, I didn't. It was a very long segment, and I failed to really care.
Am I allowed to make crazy, insane predictions on this thing?
I mean, we let Morgan talk, don't we?
Okay. It's because, we could get to the other news of this past Saturday. And if we get to that, I'm going to argue and say, is Sting going to be done? And stuff, because on Saturday, as we've talked about this before, we were promised a big return at Bound for Glory, and everybody thought it was CM Punk, but instead it's the real hero of the hour. Total nonstop action is back, and because of that, I immediately said, I thought in my head, what are the odds Sting still ends up coming and doing one more thing for TNA Wrestling?
No, different parent company with Anthem now. That aren't owned by Dixie's.
It's his home. I think they all. I think before TNA, once they take off and they're TNA again, I think they start bringing people back for one last hurrah. I would even argue the point that when his WWE's contract is up, I think AJ Styles comes home.
Yeah, come on.
You're right. You're just talking crazy at this point.
Nope, I'm going with it.
Why would you headline WWE to go back to the bingo hall?
Because
there'd be no reason.
That's where he wants to finish out is TNA.
Yeah.
Why would you want to finish out there at all?
I don't know.
I don't have any. To me, that does. He seems like a pretty big WWE guy now.
Yeah, and he puts TNA over at the end, and it's that's the beauty of it.
Well,
we can all have our opinions. Key things from the Dynamite. I mean, we've got the Rated R rebuttal. And the Jim Ross, Nick Wayne, and his mom segment, and then starting it off with Penta El Zero Medio versus Jay White, which was another good match.
Hang on a second. Nick Wayne's mom can get it.
Of course you can. By the way,
well,
that
of
was
course,
kind of
of
a
course.
brutal segment.
Oh, by the way, I didn't really actually. I would say probably one of the more headliners was teacher versus student, Shida versus Sakura.
Great match.
Wasn't terrible. I want to actually consider what you saw for that match and Sheeta, and she has a flurry of close fists from the top rope that she misses more than she connects with. We'll bring that up later in the show, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. Did you know that? Did you notice Emi Sakura is no longer coming down to the Queen song? Ever since Wembley, they haven't played her Queen song anymore.
Is that supposed to be an angle? Because I never really know where they're going with this.
She used to come down as what was the lead singer's Queen's name? Freddie Mercury. She would come down with the crown and the scepter, and it was the whole. Yeah, she hasn't done that since Wembley. Remember, she went on that rant. She was all upset that
Paige took it.
That's right. Yeah. But yeah,
or whatever.
Yeah, wasn't a bad match. I didn't hate it.
I liked it. It's like you've just got a thing against women's wrestling, and we know it.
I just want a better
One
product.
interesting note. After AEW Dynamite, in between Dynamite and Collision, some eagle-eyed fans out there saw where Brock Anderson no longer on the website.
Yeah.
So does that mean that Arn Anderson will be leaving as well?
I think they still use Arn as a producer, so I don't think so. But I mean, really, did his son ever do anything? He was a product of the Nightmare Factory, and he really didn't do much of anything other than a short run on Dark. So with Dark Elevation no longer being around, he doesn't have a home. So it's a case of wrestler's son not making it. There's been numerous in history, so I'm not super surprised by that.
You don't know that he could be joining his boy. Was it Lexus King in NXT?
Yeah,
wait a minute, they don't do the YouTube matches anymore?
No, Dark Elevation's no longer a thing.
No, yeah, it's gone.
Really? When they stopped doing
called
that?
Rampage now.
Yep. It's funny. There was 3 shows. We don't even talk about Rampage anymore.
It's dark.
I guess so. I guess Rampage. Yeah, we kind of skip over it because really, you got your 2 live shows now.
Yep.
But apparently, Rampage is on there, and that was a real big deal for them.
It was Mystico and the guy from Roppongi Vice. They had a 2 out of 3 fall match, and supposedly it was excellent. I haven't seen it, but I heard it was very good. Did either of you see that?
No.
Yeah, I missed that one. But supposedly it was a very good match. So, Dynamite. Dynamite was fine. I thought obviously the headliner to me was Kenny Omega and Kyle Fletcher. Just like I said, he would put Kyle Fletcher would lose, but Kenny would make him look like $1 million in losing, and he did. Kyle Fletcher came out as a headliner. Now they just need to develop Kyle Fletcher into a character because he really is just your average Joe. He's got no angle, no panache. He's just a guy, but he clearly has the skill set. And if he can go toe for toe, and I believe he did against Kenny Omega in a 13-minute good bout, then the PR machine needs to get behind him, develop a character, and you're looking at the next star. So, I don't really remember much of anything else that was a takeaway.
My biggest takeaway.
Go ahead.
I was like, my biggest takeaway was it was a good show and everything. Collision was better.
I did catch Collision on the replay. In fact, I finished it just about an hour and a half ago.
Yeah, Collision was great, and that's why I hate that. Like, I don't know what the ratings were or anything, but like it's like I know I was flipping between that, kind of trying to keep track of what was going on in Bound for Glory while also doing football, and I was like, this is a good show, though everything this show is, I'm watching is delivering. So I was like, I feel like we're not going to have enough eyes on Collision, but that was a good show.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I felt like the card up and down was really good.
Yep. My concern more so is the attendance for Battle for the Belts. I think there were probably even less eyes on that, unfortunately.
I blame that.
Attendance or just viewers?
Both. Well, I know the attendance was down. That they showed the arena. It was pretty sad. A lot of people had left.
So if we look at the card, you've got they started with Andrade versus Bryan Danielson, which I mean, to me, why don't we see Andrade? I mean, he disappeared forever, but then when he's there, he just is a jobber. I don't get it. But to me, he needs to be. He would be one of those guys I'd like to see elevated more and actually be fighting for maybe the TNT championship or something.
Wait till you see him face Roosh.
Where
They're
is Roosh?
they are gonna knock their dicks in the dirt. That is gonna be a knockdown, drag out fight. Roosh he's got his own little in something Canobles. I can't pronounce what they say. It's Spanish. In something des Canobles. I don't know what it means, but he's got his own little posse, and he's coming. They have him under contract, so I think we're going to see Andrade versus Roosh, and that's going to be one smash mouth kind of match.
Speaking of, it's going to be a good match. After that match was over, Danielson in the ring, lights go black, and he gets hit with the black mask from Malachi Black. Now, Malachi Black versus Danielson, there's going to be a good match to watch.
So here's my first epiphany, I guess I'll call it. Danielson does not have that sixth gear anymore, and Andrade showed that up in him. I don't know if you guys caught it, but for the most part, Andrade was quicker and crisper than Bryan Danielson. Now we know he's hurt, he's older, but I think that Andrade outshined Danielson in that match, and that was like an 18-minute match. It was quite long. They did 2 commercial breaks, if I'm not mistaken, and it was good. Don't get me wrong, it was good, but I don't think that Danielson has that higher gear anymore. I think he's just past that point in his career. What'd you guys think?
I mean, yeah, it's the younger guy versus the
I
older
didn't
guy.
see it at all.
Really?
But I
You
mean,
know what?
it was a solid match. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I think it's like I can see where you're getting with it, but I still think Danielson handled his business in the ring absolutely fine. And I think it's like my thing is with Danielson basically calling the shots, from what I understand, for Collision now, because I understand it's no longer since CM Punk left, it's no longer the CM Punk show. It's the Bryan Danielson show. I hope we get more of this. I really do.
Yeah, but we know he's gonna be pulling back, and this is kinda his farewell tour. This last 8, 10 months of what's left before his daughter turns 6 is his basically his victory lap. So he's getting all these dream matches in, and he's not 100%.
And he's
Regardless,
42.
Yeah.
there's still good matches, and I'm here for it.
Yep. Yep, it was good, but you know what? There were better matches this weekend.
It kind of goes back to what you were saying, Kevin, about me you're trying to convince me to be a little bit more open-minded with these guys that are the 40-year-old guys putting over, or at least not putting over, but at least wrestling the 24-year-old guys. To me, it's not, the flashiest thing for the casuals. I have to admit, I don't think it is, but for long term, you know, as you mentioned, if you think about it long term, we know like these guys aren't going to be around for 10 years, and if they are around for 10 years, they're not going to be going at full speed, as you mentioned.
Right. And you have to bring out that next generation, otherwise you're not gonna have a product, and the sport is just gonna fade out. And that's what this sport is very cyclical. It ebbs and flows. You know, you have your generational superstars, you have your Hogans, your Rocks, your Cenas. Um, and right now, I'm not sure that we have that. I don't think MJF is gonna go on to be a movie star. Maybe I'm wrong. I'd like to be wrong. But I don't see anybody
Mm.
that is going to be that next crossover star that's currently under contract on either side.
I will say,
On
back up
either side.
on Collision as well. It's like I saw a lot of potentially guys that have the potential to carry this company or professional wrestling into the next decade. Like I said, Andrade, it's like fantastic. I saw Miro came back tonight, looks great. Ricky Starks is looking
Wait, wait,
more
wait,
and
wait,
more like
wait,
a
wait.
better heel.
Wait a minute. What did Miro do that made you think he looked great? He did the same shit he does all the time, and he does it like once every 3 months.
But
Same
it's
move
good and it
sets.
works.
It's yes, but it's the same fucking match no matter who he's in there with. He bumps a couple of times, which he shouldn't be as a big man against the 160-pound Action Andretti. Sorry, that should have been complete squash. but unfortunately he let him bump, and that was a bad idea. It
I
ends the
still say
same
it was
way.
a squash.
Okay, if it's a squash, why let him get in offense? Why
And
would
just
a 300-pound guy bump for a 160-pound high flyer?
I've watched Twigs back in WCW bump for or get offense in against Vader. It's
Like, what
like,
did you just say? You just said WCW, right? Was that wrestling?
yeah,
No, no.
WCW. It's like 1991 WCW. That was wrestling.
Listen, if that's true, then Juventud Guerrero was it Bound for Glory? Was that wrestling?
Maybe.
Yeah, exactly. I stand by my comments. Morgan, we're talking over your head here. Juventud Guerrero, Hoovy Juice. He was in.
I mean,
Actually,
I know Hoovy. I
okay.
remember him as a kid in WCW.
Jericho
So
took his mask.
I was originally turned on to him in ECW. Rey Mysterio against Hoovy was fantastic, and that was back when Lucha was just becoming a thing, and we were getting to see it in the United States. It was a completely different style, and it was just amazing. They had a series of matches in ECW that were just incredible, and then they went on to WCW, and then of course history. WCW squashed the shit out of him, but it was interesting to see Hoovy at Bound for Glory. But I want to finish up in Collision, then we'll jump over to Bound for Glory. So what else was there on the Collision? We saw
Yeah,
the
I mean,
return of House of Black.
House of Black showed up. I think they may have a problem
so
with FTR.
So, well,
here's the thing.
yes.
Let me say something about House of Black real quick. So House of Black, because I think we skipped a match that was very important. Sky Blue had a squash match. So
do you know who that girl was?
Was that wrestling, Kevin?
No. Do you know who that girl was? Hollywood. What's her name? Hollywood.
No.
There's a series on Netflix about Ohio Valley Wrestling, which is Al Snow's. He basically runs that federation, and she is
I
the
started watching it.
She's a Netflix star. Hollywood. What's her name? Nyla Hollywood or Hollywood Nyla. What the hell's her name?
I know Hollywood. Yeah, I know who
Yeah,
you're talking about. Yeah,
that was the girl. That was her.
that was the
Against Sky
girl.
Blue.
Really.
Yep.
So here's the thing about that, real quick. She comes out in the Scooby Doo outfit.
Yes.
Which
By the way,
is nice.
Sky Blue, dude, she's got fat labia. Take a look at that outfit. She's got huge labia.
So back to the wrestling. She is. My problem with her is that she's undergoing this transformation, and she's still wearing. I don't think it was a good choice of outfit in the fact that she's in this transformation for the past like 3 weeks now of becoming less bubbly.
Did
she
you
comes
not
out in a
watch
Scooby-Doo
Julia Hart
outfit.
wearing a cheerleader outfit for the majority of her transformation?
Listen, she would have got away with it if it wasn't for you meddling kids, okay?
By the way, Kevin, Hollywood Haley.
There we go. I knew it was Hollywood something.
So here's another thing. She's got these like creepy looking, the blackness in her eyes, right? But then did you notice where Malachi Black comes out and has no paint on his eye? It's gone. After 3+ years, it's gone. Is that something or nothing?
I don't know. I think the contact was still in.
Congratulations to Julia Hart by getting married over the weekend, by the way.
Oh, she did. Good for her.
Yes. Yep. I want to see Blackpool Combat Club against House of Black. I don't really care to see him against anybody else. They're credible. They're both smash mouth. I want to see an 18
but the question
20-minute classic.
So I'm reading
Sky Blue
too
is
much
turning
into
heels. Sky Blue is turning heel. It's pretty much predetermined at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, but
it's a slow burn.
But for Malachi with not wearing the paint, was that just a mistake?
I think it was just a
He
botch
just ran
from
out.
their end. Yeah, I don't think there's anything behind it.
Who
Julia Hart.
goes
Julia
with
Hart.
TNA? I mean, with AEW.
Yeah, Julia Hart is still doing the mist when she's not getting married. So I think you're going to continue to see like Willow, who had it sprayed in her face. Who else had the mist sprayed in her face?
Willow Nightingale didn't.
Yeah, Willow. There was a third person too, I thought. But clearly, they're quote unquote infected, and they're turning heel. So I think Sky Blue.
Yeah,
is
not everybody
thing.
actually gets infected by it. It seems like some people get sprayed and then they don't.
So wait, it's COVID of wrestling? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, some people work through the pain.
I'm saying that it seems like some wrestlers may be vaccinated.
There you go.
Yeah, like Pac was.
There you go.
I feel like Statlander or somebody important like Statlander or Soho got it as well, or maybe it was Soraya. Somebody got it and they didn't turn or anything, and they just kind of didn't talk about it.
Actually, shout out to Statlander. Did you see her do knee bends with Lexi on
Squatting.
her shoulders? Yeah, she was doing squats. Fantastic. She was like 6 or 7, and they were both carrying on the interview.
How is that? How is that a shout out? She's probably like 90 pounds.
No, not well. Yes, but Statlander's no 90-pounder. She's a good buck and a half if she's anything. She's a thick girl in a good way. So, but yeah, Lexi Nair, I enjoyed it. And one knock on Lexi Nair: the next time you guys watch her do an interview, watch her mouth. Tony Schiavone does the same thing. They need to know when to move the mic, and you'll see them with their mouth just mumbling the lines. You can see them saying the words without the person they're interviewing. They have to know when their mark is, so they know their lines as well. So every once in a while, Lexi Nair will mouth the words, but Tony Schiavone is famous for doing it. He's been doing it since WCW, where he will basically sit there and recite the whole monologue, so to speak, while he's looking at the camera. So, but yes, Statlander doing the squats with Lexi Nair. I enjoyed that. That was fun.
Okay, Kevin, real quick. It's like, what about the street fight, Kingston and Jarrett? What do you think of that?
I thought the match was bullshit. The fact that it took five and a half people to take him out, setting up Jay Lethal. I didn't think the match was very good. In fact, I thought it was quite sloppy. But I just saw that interview 2 hours ago, and man, I love Eddie Kingston. And as my wife was watching over my shoulder, she's like, "What do you like so much about this guy?" I'm like, "Because he believes it. He truly believes that he's in a fight for his life." And you see all that passion come out. She said, "What if he's just a good actor?" She might have a point. But hey, nonetheless, the best part of that match, was the interview. That was the best part of that match. And Jarrett needs to stop over dyeing his hair. It was almost orange. It was so yellow.
Put that guy on my list too for guys who will make a cameo appearance in the new TNA.
I mean, he owned it for a short period, didn't he?
Jarrett will find his way home for a match or two. I guarantee you, Tony. I know he's in the company. Tony Khan will lend that man, some time to go over there and have one more good, confusing King of the Mountain match.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if the good old Tony days are still around. He's just getting his head knocked around. I think he's getting a little full of himself. Might be having a bit of adversity in his own company, and I think he's finding it's a little more difficult to run this business than he thought. But we'll see. We'll see. So if we're all done with AEW, I'll get into Bound for Glory. I don't know if you guys watch Bound for Glory, but it was good. It was good. I haven't watched. I hadn't sat down and seriously watched a pay-per-view from Impact in many years, and the product was decent. I mean, it had a little bit of everything for everybody. You had your crazy ass match, which was the Monsters Ball. You're supposed to believe that these guys were locked in closets for 24 hours without food or light. That they were released to have a match. Which, I mean, come on.
But, I love TNA.
It was there was so first of all, if anybody listening doesn't know who PCO is Pierre-Carl Ouellette, who originally wrestled as a pirate in the WWE in the early 90s.
And Quebecer.
He was also thank you. Thanks for
he's a 3-time tag team champion.
Thanks for burying the lead. He is now playing an inhuman in the character of PCO. That's his tag. He's not a human. He's done some crazy stuff. He did some crazy ass shit in Lucha Underground. But he took a bump. The man is Morgan, check me on this. The man is 64, I believe. Pierre-Carl Ouellette, PCO. He is no longer under contract with Impact. I believe this was his last match. They had a bed of cinder blocks that were shoot cinder blocks. They weren't fake. It was about 6 feet wide, 6 feet long. He's 55?
55.
Thank you. He took a power bomb on the cinder blocks covered in tacks. His head bounced off the cinder blocks. There's no working that. And
it's for real too when like I said, it doesn't make like a crunching sound. It makes like a slap.
I thought. And the man won the match. He came back to win the match. He actually got up from that power bomb, power bomb on cinder blocks covered in thumbtacks. He had tacks in the back of his head, in the back of his neck. It was a schmoz match, but kudos. The opening match was Chris Sabin. It was good. It was for the X division. I forget. It was Chris Sabin versus
Kenta.
yes. Not bad. I'm not a huge Kenta fan. But it was pretty good. It was pretty good. The Monsters Ball, like I said, was PCO. Then we got ABC versus the Rascals, and I'm not super familiar with the Rascals. I know who Trey Miguel is. I know who Chris Bay and Ace Austin are. Good back and forth match. Typical like 200-pound high flyer kind of match. Done very well. I think it went about 10 minutes. It was enjoyable. The standout for me, and I should have turned it off after this match, actually. The standout for me was Will Ospreay versus Speedball Mike Bailey. Now, I talked to you guys about this last week. I told you that I was really looking forward to this match. There was quite a bit of hype around this match, and it lived up to it. It was start to finish a whole nother gear. Both of these guys have very accurate, very fast paced offense, and they lay their shit in. They don't pull anything. This went about 20 minutes, and I think it was perfect timing. And at that point, which was Saturday night at about 9:15, I believe this match was match of the year. I really, truly did. And had I not watched what I watched 2 hours ago, I would stand by the fact that that was match of the year. And if you have not seen this match, you need to go back and watch this match. You need to find it and go watch it. Very well done. I'm going to save this for a little bit. We're going to jump to the next part. I want to go back and I want to expound and I want to ask you my question. So, after
Sure.
that, it was the 20-man call your shot gauntlet, which is a historical thing they do at Bound for Glory. In the past, it's been won by Bully Ray and a few others, but it came down to there were surprises. There was Sonny Kiss, who made his Impact debut. There
And that's
was
where Ubi was too.
Yes, that's Hoovy was there, Juventud Guerrero was there, and we also got Matt Cardona. Those were your surprises. It came down to Jordan Grace and Bully Ray
Holy Ray.
and Bully Ray. And I also want to earmark this match because I'm going to refer to it again. Basically, Bully Ray put over Jordan Grace. So it was one of those, are you kidding me kind of things. Um, Even in the offense that she was getting in. And I will say the best part, or maybe not the best part, depending who you are, when Jordan Grace beat Bully Ray, her boobie popped out and she had to stuff it back in. So that was either the highlight or the low light of the match. But she basically said, "I'm gonna challenge for the women's title," and that was when I turned the TV off. I'm sorry. This entertainment, this form of entertainment, is designed to take me out of reality, to suspend disbelief. But I can't not believe seeing a 300-pound man not be able to beat a 200-pound muscle-bound woman. It was sad. I thought it was a bad decision, and I wound up turning it off after that. So overall, for me, Bound for Glory was good, and then they just kicked me in the nuts with this intergender call your shot gauntlet. So they kind of lost me, and I basically turned it off after that. And what I missed was Trinity beating Mickey James, and then Alex Shelley beating Josh Alexander, which was a huge upset from what I understand. Everybody expected Josh Alexander to take it back after his injury, but they went the other way. But what did come out of this, and it seems like Drew, you did the research here. Go ahead and announce Impact's
Like
big
I said,
news.
it's like TNA is back, baby. It's like it's like I hope we get it all. I hope we get it's like the impact zones, six-sided rings, confusing, nonsensical matches like a reverse battle royal and whatever the heck the King of the Mountain match was. Give it
Yeah,
all to me. It's like and endless amounts of former WWE talent.
yeah, I'm not so much excited, but TNA rolls off the tongue a lot easier than
Are
Impact
you
does. So
kidding? Guys like Dolph Ziggler and Shelton Benjamin have to be thrilled. The home for it's like for released WWE stars is back.
yeah, that was a different time, a different era. Dixie Carter and her family owned it. Now Anthem owns it. They're a bit more business structured. Who is calling? Who's got the pencil there?
Anthem?
Little short, yeah, little short Canadian guy.
Scott
Uh,
D'Amore?
there you go. Scott Demore is running, and he's got the pencil. It's him and Tommy Dreamer, from what I understand, and I think Bully Ray is also an agent there as well. So
Are they
actually,
still
he's
gonna
got
underpay women?
they basically got 4/5 of Busted Open under contract. Actually, I think the only two people co-hosts that aren't in there, even David LaGrega's got some TV time on Impact. So uh, um, uh, uh, Mark Henry and who's the female that got hurt in AEW? Um,
Mickey James, Thunder
no,
Rosa.
Thunder Rosa. Those are the only two that aren't in Impact that are on Busted Open. So shout out to Busted Open and Dave LaGrega. Yeah. So I want to
As you're sitting
again.
here talking about something I didn't see, I'm looking at the Bound of Glory spoilers for Will Ospreay and Mike Bailey.
Speedball, yeah.
And just from the highlights alone, it is a match that I would want to watch. I mean, it is by far some exciting 3 minutes of highlights. So I can only imagine the full match.
How many times can you get kneed in the face?
Well, okay. So
The
with
guy's not
that,
even wearing shoes. Like, he's not wearing
no,
boots.
I told you he's the Karate Kid. He even does the Karate Kid pose. He's got the mullet. He doesn't wear shoes. He's been on the scene for like 10 years. He's very good. He's very good. But when you watch that match, you will see what I mean by a sixth gear. Some guys have it, some guys don't. Danielson had it in the
Yeah.
WWE. Kenny had it in New Japan, and he did have it in his beginning of the AEW run. However, the last match that I watched, and I watched it about 2 hours ago, and this is the match of the year. I watched Rev Pro, and it was Will Ospreay versus Zack Sabre Jr. in a 30-minute, bar none, best match of the year. And that brings me to my question.
All right.
Well, before you get to your question,
Go ahead.
would you say that the ring that they were in was a little bit bouncier than what you see in AEW? I mean, I'm watching this, and maybe it's just the moves they're doing, but it's kind of bouncy.
Most rings are built the same way. It's a steel frame with a piston in the middle and 2x6s, a small thin layer of foam, and then a tarp over the top. So no, I don't think the match is any the ring is any different. Um, no, I don't think so. There was a time and a place where there were ring size differences. WCW had a smaller ring. WWE had a larger ring by I think it was a foot or foot and a half. But
Unless you're in
most rings are built the same way.
Unless you're in Matt
By the way, and
Hardy's
nobody ever
February.
acknowledged the fact that I did notice that WWE hard cam was opposite in some of their
You mean
shows.
WCW? Well, I also
Or
think it
WCW.
depends. I think it depends on the arena that they're at or the building that they're at. I think dictates. I could be wrong,
Yeah.
but like as a
I don't
kid
know.
growing up, Boston Garden, WWE always set the hard cam on the same exact side every single time. They never varied. But I think if you go to different arenas, depending on setups and floor setups, I think it forces their hand as to which side they can set the hard cam up on.
Right. I mean, it looks
Um,
like Impact did. I mean, it looks like Impact did the same thing with Bound of Glory, Bound for Glory, because it looks like the entrance is to the right of the camera.
Okay. Yeah.
Interesting. I don't know if there's a science behind it or what, but
Yeah, I don't again, I'm not exactly sure why they choose what side they do. But again, may come down to aesthetics as far as what the arena kind
Nothing makes more sense to me than everybody does it this one way and WCW would do it the complete opposite.
of in Bischoff we trust.
That's WCW for you, man.
All right, so you guys ready for my question? And I'm going to
Yep.
give my wife
let's
credit
hit us
because
with
she
it.
asked me and I said, that's really good. And I need to think about it. So, it's very simple. What makes you enjoy a wrestling match? What do you want to see? What do you look for? And what constitutes a match of the year in your opinion? Think about that for a minute. While you're thinking about that, I'm going to tell you why. I watched Bound for Glory and Speedball Will Ospreay. Amazing match. In my opinion, that was the best match I had seen, bar none, all year. And then I watched Rev Pro tonight. Lower quality, wasn't an HD, and I suggest that you guys go watch this. It's a half hour of your life that you will thoroughly enjoy watching professional wrestling. Will Ospreay versus Zack Sabre Jr. of Rev Pro, which is a combined show between Rev Pro and New Japan. So you had Red Shoes officiating. It was 30 minutes of back and forth action. No one missed a spot. No one took a powder. They were in sixth gear from the beginning to the end. Very similar to the match that I had seen with Speedball, but unfortunately, Speedball and Ospreay had one or two moves that didn't go as smoothly as they should have. And for me, that was a 4.5-star match. But this Rev Pro match, and I don't think I'm going to see anything that's better this year, was 5 stars. And from what I just saw, Dave Meltzer gave it 5.5 stars. So in my opinion, that was the best match of the year. But my question is, what constitutes a good match in your opinion, Morgan?
Oh, I have to go first. Okay. Well, I think for me, I'm less on the I'm less on the super realistic technical side of things. So like typically I don't prefer to see something with Bryan Danielson, for example, or with Dean Malenko, or just something where there's a lot of different submissions. So for me, I like technical work, but typically when it comes more of the way of like Osprey or Omega, the Young Bucks, I like seeing more of a flyer, but not like overly. But I think number one for me, let me go back to that. So number one for me is something that I've been griping about for the past couple of weeks on the podcast is just the storytelling. Like I want to be compelled to feel like that there's more to it than just two guys wrestling a great match. I want to feel like there's an actual story behind it, or there's a build up to it. And then I want to feel like the characters actually mean something. They're not just like, just themselves out there. I want to feel like that there's some history with the character as well. I guess what you could say is I'm more of a match pacing guy than I am a technicality or a technical on the mat guy. I'd rather see a pretty upbeat pace, which is what you see when you get like the Elite versus which one of the best matches of AEW was Page and Hangman, or Page and Omega versus the Bucks. 3 years ago, so like those guys doing that kind of pacing, I don't like it when it slows down to a halt. I know a lot of people do like that, and I'm not knocking it at all, but that's kind of my thought is like, I want to see wrestlers out there that are not like the Miros of the world, like you mentioned, not to knock Miro at all, because he does his thing, but you have to have more than just one thing. I want you to be able to hit a few different signature moves, whether or not you're your finisher or not. But yeah, and I don't even need a surprise element. I just want to see a match where two guys are giving it their all, and they're both in shape, and the pace is good, and the story is good, and the characters matter. That's kind of what my thoughts are. I know it's a little bit a lot of everything, but
Let me ask you a clarifying question. You said the guys are in shape. Eddie Kingston is probably
yeah,
one of
like
the most believable wrestlers that walk the planet right
who?
now. Eddie Kingston, and the man is not in shape. Do you knock
Yeah, I
him for
mean,
not being in shape?
I prefer. He doesn't compel me to. It would be very hard for me to give him a 5 or 6 star match
Okay.
rating. I just he doesn't compel me, but he's also more of a bruiser. He's not the kind of pace guy that I like. So it goes back to that.
Okay. All right. So you want a more methodical, not predictable, but not a high flying spot monkey match. So you prefer what you saw Saturday night with Collision, which was Andrade versus Danielson. What I didn't like about that match is it start and stop 6 times in the first 10 minutes. Oh, you just bested my move. Let me sit back. Let me put one knee down. Let me take a breather. Let me gather my composure. Let's do it again. Now you take a knee. Your dick is in the dirt. Let's pose. Let's calm down. Let's go again. Is that what you prefer?
No, I'm not a big Bryan Danielson fan, to be honest with you. Just
Okay.
because of that type of, like I said, at least with AEW, I'm more of an elite guy,
Okay.
you know?
So then let me ask you, have you enjoyed uh the Lucha Bros against the Young Bucks? Have you enjoyed those matches?
Yeah, I do. I feel like that you can't match them up every single week, and that's part of having variety. But when they are matched up, I look forward to it.
Okay. All right. Any last words? I mean that you gave us quite a bit there. There's a lot to unpack and we don't have that much time. But it sounds like you would prefer a
Yeah,
slower
yeah. I mean,
paced,
it's a good. I
more
mean, I think that.
storytelling. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. I don't want to just walk into a match and not have any kind of backstory. Um, even though I know it's going to be a good match, I'll still watch it. But like I said, I want there to be some meaning behind it. You know, so that's where I'm at.
Okay. Fair enough. Drew, what do you think?
Um, are we talking about like what constitute a 5-star match or what constitute a good match for me?
What constitutes a good match for you?
Okay, for me, I'm a sucker for the storyline and the drama and stuff. That's usually my main go-to. I mean, I make no bones about it. The first match that actually got me into wrestling, and I absolutely still to this day love this match, is WrestleMania 7 with the Ultimate Warrior versus Randy Savage. That match, it's like, and that's saying something because this is a match that involves the Ultimate Warrior. You're not going to get a 5-star out of Warrior, but I will stand by this point. Savage got the best match out of Ultimate Warrior his entire career right here on this match. Highly recommend you watch it. But and then the match after, it's like one of the other matches that made solidified pro wrestling for me was SummerSlam that same year. Bret Hart versus Mr. Perfect for the Intercontinental title. Matches when they can tell a story within the match is a big thing for me. And in my mind, that to me is what my 5-star match is going to end up being. Also, I obligatorily have to say this is I'm also a sucker for the car crashes every once in a while. Like the TLC matches in the early 2000s with WWE were fantastic. And what was it? Anarchy in the Arena? It's like
Mm,
that Eddie Kingston and the Jericho Appreciation Society. I liked it. I know some people it's not their cup of tea, but I had fun.
sure. I mean, you're talking to a guy who watches GCW, so it's deathmatch. I
Yeah.
get it. I get it. This is a little something for everybody. So you're more of a, I want more story behind it. It doesn't necessarily need to be high impact.
Yeah, like I mean, I enjoy watching, when you do something like Andrade versus Bryan Danielson, for example, or Speedball Mike Bailey against Offspring. I enjoy these matches. I love them to death. But just putting two guys together for the sake of, having a great match is fine and all. But I don't, it's like, but it's harder for me to invest. Whereas opposed to like Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay fighting each other, I know there's blood, bad blood between these two, and they are able to convey that in that match as well.
Okay, fair enough. Anything else to add?
Um, I don't. It's like I think that's the biggest thing about it. It's like I love. It's like I like technical wrestling. I like car crashes and all this stuff. But I think more than anything, for a match to be good and fun, it's like it should be fun. It should be engaging. As long as it is something that the people in the audience or the people watching at home are on the edge of their seats invested in, then we've got a good match.
Fair enough. For me, it's it's very layered. So first off, it needs to be more than 10 minutes and typically less than 45. If you're going to take that time in my life You need to entertain me on a different level. I don't want to just see something you're going to put on TV. I want to see a few different things. I want to see believability. If you're asking me to suspend disbelief, there can't be a single point in that match in which you miss. And I'll give you an example. Hikaru Shida, we talked about her earlier. When she goes up to the top rope and she does her hammer fists on whoever is on the ring buckle, 9 times out of 10, she doesn't even come close to connecting. You've lost me. I'm going to change the channel. If you're asking me to invest, I need to be watching a UFC fight, but it needs to be professional wrestling. And I'm getting that with the likes of Will Ospreay, Zack Sabre Jr., Andrade, on occasion, Swerve Strickland, um, Speedball Mike Bailey. You need to okay, so I watch a lot of different things. I watch professional wrestling, I watch bare knuckle boxing, I watch UFC. You don't need a story, in my opinion, to put 2 guys in a ring and have a good match, and I will give you the prime example, and I will tell you that I am gonna give you homework, and it's up to you guys if you choose to watch. Go find Will Ospreay versus Zack Sabre Jr. from the UK last week. It's on YouTube. It's about 30 minutes. It's not the best quality. It's like standard TV 540 resolution, but it's match of the year. There's never a missed spot. There's no communication. You can't see these guys talking. It's high impact, smash mouth, submission, Yaveo style, which is a bit of the lucha libre with Mexican style mixed with British style. For 30 minutes, I sat there with my jaw on the floor. Again, today, walking the earth on an active roster anywhere, there is nobody better than Will Ospreay. He's succeeded Kenny Omega, in my opinion, within the last year or two. For a match to be good, again, I have to be able to suspend disbelief and don't insult my intelligence. It has to be 10 to 45 minutes. It has to be snug. It has to be stiff, not to the point where they're hurting each other. I don't need to see light tubes and plate glass, barbed wire. This match that I watched today had none of that, and it's match of the year in my opinion, and it's gonna be hard pressed for anybody to exceed or convince me that it's not. But in this world, we're in some dark times, and if you're gonna take me out of everyday society and just let my mind relax and enjoy physical entertainment, the match that I watched with Rev Pro between Will Ospreay and Zack Sabre Jr. did that for me 2 hours ago. And that's what makes a good professional wrestling match, in my opinion. And we know that styles make matches. Sometimes you can have a high flyer and a submission specialist. We got 2 guys that could do both. And until I saw this match, Speedball and Ospreay was match of the year for me. Go watch Zack Sabre Jr. versus Will Ospreay. And in my opinion, Will Ospreay is the best professional wrestler walking the earth right now who's currently active anywhere in the world. That's my opinion.
I can believe that. I'm just in the matches we've seen of him alone, he's definitely in the top 3 right now, just with what he's able to accomplish. I think you also hit up on a point where it's like, that's one of the biggest things about professional wrestling in general is it's like when we watch professional wrestling, we want you to take us out of our reality and let us invest in this. Take me somewhere else where I'm going to have a good time.
Yep. If you're going to take that time in my life, we all know we have a finite time on this earth, and you're going to ask me to watch 2 hours of your product, make it goddamn good.
Valid point.
Morgan, you seem to be a little bit speechless, and that's unusual for you.
No, I think that we all have very thoughtful reasons about why we like wrestling or why we watch wrestling, what matches we like the most. And I think that's another really cool thing about wrestling is, I go to college football a lot. I go to many different sporting events a lot, and you see typically in the stadium, in the arena, it's even especially when you go to like concerts, as you guys know, you see one type of person. You usually see one, um, one dominant type of person that goes to those events, and not so with wrestling. And that's one thing that I like about it is that when I go there, I'm not going to see a bunch of people that are exactly like me. And I'm not just talking about like the actual wrestlers themselves, because that is very true. None of them are anywhere near me. But um, when it comes to the people in the stands, to see the diversity that's out there, that's part of the reason why I like wrestling so much, is because there's so many different people from different backgrounds that like it for different reasons and got into it for different reasons and can enjoy different styles. There might be a match that, hey, I'm going to go to the bathroom on that match, or I'm going to go get some popcorn or whatever. I'm going to go buy a belt. That's probably what Drew's thinking, is he's going to buy a belt. But, then there might be another match where, hey, I'm not leaving my seat for this, and it's two completely different wrestlers. And, but they bring value to the promotion. So I think it's pretty cool, to be honest with you.
Yeah, again, to your point, we aren't your typical professional wrestling fans, but what is a typical professional wrestling fan? And I'll leave it with that. That's our thought for the week, guys. Try to find that Rev Pro match, because I'm going to bring it up next week and ask what you guys thought of it. In the meantime, man, another great show, boys. Have a great week.
See you later, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening in and tuning in over on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get this podcast and listen in. As far as myself and the other guys here, we hope you have a good rest of your week, and we'll see you next week on And Still a Wrestling Podcast.